Has been a big week in Canberra, hasn't it?
It has.
What's it like being part of the government party, seeing the opposition go through all this?
Yeah.
Already we've seen attack ads out, so you're already worried about Angus Taylor.
Look, good morning, Alex. Probably I should start off first for Susan Ley. I just do want to recognise that she has contributed so much for her electorate. 25 years is a long time. As a new MP, learning the ropes, it is a
Can you imagine
privilege.
25 years?
No, I can't imagine 25 years, but I just want to acknowledge as the first Liberal leader, you know, it's really important just to recognise that. And it's unfortunate they haven't really given her a shot. It's 9-10 months after the election. The constant undermining, that's what I've observed as a backbencher in the chambers and outside, is really disappointing. But I do wish her all the best, and the electorate that she represents have been pretty lucky. But seeing what's happening right now is also, one could argue this is a great thing, but also I think it's actually a really sad thing for the Australian community. The reality is good government to operate, you need a strong opposition. And we have not seen that since we've been elected. The constant undermining, we've heard Jack about policies that they want to compare. You know, they took a bunch of policies to the election. We have not heard boo about it since we've been elected. So that's unfair for the community, because for good government to operate, you need a good, strong opposition.
Have you had any dealings with Angus Taylor? You are new into Parliament.
No, I haven't, unfortunately. Most of my time is really speaking on legislation, calling my constituents as well while I'm in Canberra. But no, I haven't.
Is it a gossipy place? Do people have reputations there?
I don't think so. I think because I'm too caught up in learning about the ropes of being in Parliament as a new MP, and that's the priority. You know, that's what the people of Barton have elected me to do, is represent them well, contribute to all the legislation that the Labor government has been providing, you know, pushing through the House. So, unfortunately, I don't make time for that kind of stuff, Alex.
What do you make of attack ads coming out so early? If the coalition's in such disarray, what's the concern?
I think the Australian people see BS a mile away. And I think it's appropriate to make sure that we are on the front foot, that this new leadership for the opposition, particularly the Liberal Party, we're not going to see much change. I did have the opportunity to see Angus Taylor's video, which was a bit bizarre. Lots of catchphrases, motherhood statements, again, no policy. So I think we're going to see more of the same, to be honest, Alex.
Well, he says he's going to focus on immigration and the economy. Do you think those are the priorities for the Australian people?
Definitely, but I think there's a bit of conflation around that. Like, net migration has been down by 40%. And, you know, the Labor government has been focusing on cost of living relief, things like providing tax cuts, energy bill relief as well. We've passed amazing legislation to make sure that we can increase bulk billing services. I know that's really important in my electorate, but even broadly across the country. We're just getting on with the show, what the Australian people have elected us to do. We're just putting horse blinkers and just focusing on that.
Part of this getting on with the show is the current debate nationally about trying to balance up the need for freedom of speech versus stopping hateful rhetoric. We've seen the Prime Minister ask New South Wales Police for an explanation about the actions around praying Muslims in the street and how they were moved on during that protest earlier this week. Is that a good move on your part?
So I did have the opportunity to see some of the footage on Monday night. I was in Canberra working late in the chambers, but I was actually really disturbed by what I saw. The next morning I saw a number of other footage as well, and I did put a statement out on it. It was quite distressing to see what happened in Sydney. You know, freedom of speech has been something very fundamental to the democracy of Australia, and, you know, I think the reality is Australia wants to have a debate about different things. We need to also learn how we dial down the temperature, be understanding of people's difference of opinions. But I am concerned by what happened on Sunday. I did speak to a lot of my own constituents because they reached out to me while I was in Canberra to talk about it. And I think it's important that there was footage that, you know, there's always going to be context. As a solicitor by trade, you need to see all the facts. But also there was some footage that, particularly those who were praying, like I have the privilege to hold my rosary in my hand when I'm sitting on the train or sitting in chambers to do that. Why is it that someone who is praying, who's of Islamic background, being attacked? And that is quite concerning. And, you know, I think, you know, there are some questions to be asked by the state government. But more importantly, freedom of speech is important. and people should be accountable of what they're saying.
Okay, interesting stuff. I really appreciate your time this morning. That's Ash Ambihaipahar.